Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
General Hospital spoilers indicate that Willow Corinthos has pursued her relationship with Drew Quartermaine and they've been in a sexual relationship, indeed before she stopped sleeping with her hubby, Michael Corinthos. In a surprising twist, Willow could find out that she's pregnant, but also a couple months further than she was awaiting herself to be. That will lead to the question of maternity. Who in fact is the father of Willow's rearmost seed? Drew or Michael? Query will plague Willow Corinthos. Willow would debate about whether to tell Drew that she's pregnant, especially if she isn't sure if he's the father or not. She'd not want to tell him if she finds out that Drew was sleeping with her mama, Nina Reeves, while he was pursuing her. She'd claim the baby as Michael's if that were the case. Willow would want to get a maternity test and find out for herself. But she'd keep the verity a secret if Drew was the father if she set about the verity about Nina and Drew. But what if she's still in the dark about Nina and Drew's appointment? She'd want to raise the baby with Drew, but hold off on telling him until she knows who the father is. All these scripts are possible. Willow Corinthos gets a maternity test done. Will Nina Reeves alter the results? Wanting to know the father of her baby, Willow will go to General Hospital to get a maternity test done. Nina will be hysterical that the baby is Drew's, and would want the maternity test doctored in order to keep Willow from Drew, whether or not Willow knows about Nina's own sexual relationship with Drew. She knows that Drew isn't good for Willow and he'd use the baby to control her if it turns out that Drew is in fact the father. The stylish script for everyone involved is if Michael is actually the father of the baby, and Nina will make sure that the results say so. Nina would feel that she'd be acting in Willow's stylish interests, and keeping the verity from her is the right thing to do. The truth will come out ultimately after learning that Michael is the father of her baby via the doctored results. Willow will continue to ramify ties with Drew. Drew will refuse to believe that Michael is the father, and pursue Willow anyhow, wanting to raise the baby with her. Nina will have to keep her eye on Drew, and make sure that he no way learns the verity that he's actually the father of Willow's baby. With Michael's imminent return to the oil, he'll be inversely surprised by the appearance of a new child that he believes is his own. But Drew's grim pursuit could prove to be Nina's downfall. What will be to Nina when the verity eventually comes out? What do you suppose? In the heart of Port Charles, where the lines between love and loyalty are perpetually blurred, a new storm is brewing, one born from passion, secrecy, and a single, life-altering question. The seemingly stable foundations of the Corinthos family are about to be tested by a paternity mystery that promises to unravel relationships, expose hidden affairs, and ignite a firestorm of betrayal. At the center of this maelstrom is Willow Corinthos, a woman whose journey toward happiness has been fraught with peril, only to find herself on the precipice of her greatest crisis yet. This is a story of a baptism into a new kind of turmoil, encouraging words that ring hollow in the face of deception, and angry threats that simmer beneath the surface of civility. A complicated heart, the tangled web of Willow, Michael, and Drew. Willow Corinthos's life has never been simple. Having survived illness, familial strife, and the complex dynamics of marrying into the powerful Corinthos clan, she believed she had found a fragile peace with her husband, Michael. Their love, forged in the fires of adversity, was the bedrock upon which she had rebuilt her world. However, the arrival of Drew Quartermaine introduced a variable she hadn't anticipated. Drew, with his own history of loss and resilience, presented a different kind of connection, one built on a shared understanding of survival and a quiet, compelling intensity that contrasted with the high-stakes world of the Corinthos family. The development of their relationship was not a malicious act, but a gradual, insidious shift. It began with friendship, with shared confidences and encouraging words exchanged in moments of vulnerability. Drew became a confidant, a port in the storm of her life, and without a clear, decisive moment of choice, their emotional intimacy spiraled into a physical one. For a time, Willow existed in two realities, maintaining the facade of her marriage to Michael while exploring the passionate connection with Drew. This period of overlapping intimacies creates the central, ticking time bomb of the story. Before she could definitively end her marital relationship with Michael, a new life had already begun to grow within her. The discovery of her pregnancy, which should be a moment of unbridled joy, instead plunges Willow into a vortex of dread and uncertainty. The initial shock quickly gives way to a cold, calculating fear as she counts back the weeks. The timeline is ambiguous, placing her at a critical juncture where the child could just as easily be Michael's as it could be Drew's. This uncertainty plagues her every waking moment. The baby, a symbol of new beginnings, becomes a living embodiment of her own transgression and the potential destruction of two families. To tell or not to tell, a secret carried in silence. Willow's first and most agonizing debate is whether to even inform Drew of the pregnancy. If the baby is his, he has a right to know. But what if it isn't? To tell him would be to shatter the fragile peace she's trying to build and to expose their affair to a man who still considers her his wife. Her mind races through a labyrinth of potential scenarios, each more fraught than the last. Her dilemma is brutally complicated by a ghost from Drew's past, her mother, Nina Reeves. Unbeknownst to Willow, during the very same period Drew was pursuing her, he was also entangled in a brief, intense sexual relationship with Nina. This revelation, if and when Willow discovers it, would fundamentally alter her perception of Drew and their connection. It would paint their affair not as a star-crossed romance, but as a sordid game in which she was just one of two women he was involved with. In this scenario, her decision becomes terrifyingly clear. She would vehemently claim the baby as Michael's, whether a test had confirmed it or not. The idea of tying herself and her child to a man who could share a bed with both a mother and her daughter would be abhorrent to her. The paternity of the child would become a weapon to sever ties with Drew permanently. However, if she remains in the dark about Nina and Drew's tryst, her calculus changes. Her love for Drew remains a powerful force. In this reality, she would want nothing more than to raise this child with him, to build a new family founded on the connection they share. Yet, the seed of doubt is too powerful to ignore. How could she present this pregnancy as a joyful event when a shadow of paternity hangs over it? She would likely decide to hold her secret close, postponing any announcement until she can secure a definitive paternity test. She would navigate the early stages of her pregnancy with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes, offering encouraging words to a hopeful Drew while her own heart is frozen with fear. The secret would become a wall between them, a lie of omission that could poison their relationship from the inside out, even if the results eventually fall in their favor. Nina's panic, the mother who knows too much. While Willow grapples with her secret, Nina Reeves operates from a position of terrifying knowledge. She is the only person, aside from Drew himself, who understands the full scope of the timeline. She knows that her own affair with Drew overlapped with the beginning of his relationship with Willow. The news of Willow's pregnancy sends a jolt of pure panic through her. Her mind immediately jumps to the worst-case scenario: the baby is Drew's. Nina's motivations are a complex and twisted tapestry of maternal instinct and self-preservation. From her perspective, she is acting in Willow's best interests. She has long held a deep-seated animosity toward the Corinthos family, viewing them as a toxic empire that consumes everyone in its orbit. She sees Michael as an extension of that empire, but Drew? In her eyes, Drew is an unpredictable force, a man grappling with his own demons, whose recent actions prove he is not a stable partner for her daughter. She would convince herself that Drew would use a child as a tool for control, a permanent chain to bind Willow to him, potentially ruining her life. Therefore, in Nina's distorted moral calculus, the best scenario for everyone involved is for Michael to be the father. A baby with Michael solidifies Willow's place in a powerful family, provides financial security, and, most importantly from Nina's view, keeps her away from Drew. The truth becomes a disposable commodity, something to be managed and manipulated for the greater good, a good that she alone gets to define. This is not merely a lie, it is an act of profound arrogance, a belief that she has the right to orchestrate her daughter's life from the shadows. The point of no return, tampering with fate. Driven by this misguided conviction, Nina shifts from a worried mother to an active saboteur. When she learns that Willow, unable to bear the uncertainty any longer, has gone to General Hospital to have a prenatal paternity test conducted, Nina sees her window of opportunity. This is her chance to save her daughter. Using her connections, her charm, or perhaps a well-placed threat, she orchestrates a brazen act of fraud. She ensures that the test results are doctored, the scientific evidence twisted to reflect the reality she desires, not the one that exists. The report is altered to conclusively name Michael Corinthos as the biological father. It is a decision made in a moment of panic, but its consequences will be permanent and far-reaching. In that single act, Nina doesn't just tell a lie, she lays the foundation for a future explosion that will send shrapnel through every life it touches. Living the lie, a fractured reality. The delivery of the falsified results creates a new, fractured reality for Willow. A wave of tumultuous relief washes over her, immediately followed by a pang of guilt and loss. The uncertainty is over, but the path forward is now set in stone, a stone built on a foundation of sand. She must now fully and publicly recommit to her life with Michael, severing her ties with Drew with a finality that the test results demand. She approaches Drew, her words carefully chosen, her demeanor a mask of resolute sadness. She delivers the news, offering what she frames as encouraging words, "It's for the best," or "This gives us both clarity to move on." But to Drew, these words are not encouraging, they are a death knell. He refuses to accept them. Something in his gut, an intuition born of his connection to Willow and his understanding of their timeline, screams that the results are wrong. He cannot reconcile the woman he shared such a profound connection with, the woman he believes carried his child, with the cold, final pronouncement of a lab report. His refusal to let go becomes his new mission. He pursues Willow, not with aggression, but with a desperate, relentless conviction. He pleads with her, questioning the science, questioning her certainty. He wants to raise the baby with her, not as a weapon of control as Nina feared, but out of a genuine belief that they are meant to be a family. This relentless pursuit is the fly in Nina's ointment, the variable she failed to account for. She now must vigilantly monitor Drew, constantly working to reinforce the lie, to gaslight him into accepting a falsehood, all while fearing that his dogged determination will be her downfall. The returning king and the relentless suitor. The drama is further amplified by Michael Corinthos' imminent return to Port Charles. He left a husband facing marital strain, he returns to the news that he is expecting a new child with his wife. He is equally surprised, likely assuming the pregnancy is a miracle that will heal the lingering wounds in their marriage. He will step into the role of expectant father with joy and commitment, completely unaware that the child he is preparing to welcome is the subject of such a bitter, clandestine war. This sets the stage for an explosive confrontation. On one side is Michael, the rightful and cuckolded husband, believing he is building a future with his wife and child, his position bolstered by falsified documents. On the other is Drew, the scorned lover, operating on pure instinct and a broken heart, convinced that a part of him is being stolen away. The clash is inevitable. Drew's presence will be a constant, aggravating reminder to Michael of the affair, and his refusal to accept the paternity will be seen as a deep and unforgivable insult. Nina will find herself trapped between these two powerful men, forced to offer encouraging words to Michael while simultaneously deploying angry threats, both veiled and direct, against Drew to keep him in line. Every conversation she has with Drew will be a high-wire act, a blend of pleading and menace. "You have to let this go. Drew, for everyone's sake," she might say, her voice laced with a warning she alone understands. "Stop torturing her, and stop torturing yourself. Accept that the baby is Michael's, or you will force me to take steps to protect my family." The inevitable unraveling. In a world like Port Charles, the truth is a resilient force. It has a way of bubbling to the surface, no matter how deep it is buried. The facade Nina has so carefully constructed is inherently unstable. It could shatter in a multitude of ways. A guilty conscience from a lab technician. A second, independent test demanded by a skeptical Drew. A slip of the tongue from Nina herself in a moment of stress. Or perhaps Willow, noticing a physical trait in her newborn that is unmistakably Drew's, is driven to seek the truth herself. When the truth finally erupts, the fallout will be catastrophic. For Willow, the revelation will be a second baptism, not of water, but of fire and betrayal. Learning that the foundation of her choices was a lie, orchestrated by her own mother, will be a trauma that eclipses the initial pain of the paternity uncertainty. The encouraging words she offered Michael will turn to ash in her mouth. The anger she felt toward Drew will be redirected with volcanic force toward Nina. She will have to grapple with the fact that her child's first months of life were built on a fraud, and that her own mother deemed her unworthy of knowing the truth about her child's father. For Michael, the news will be a brutal assault on his manhood, his marriage, and his identity. The joy of fatherhood will be retroactively poisoned. The child he has bonded with, the future he envisioned, will be fundamentally altered. His anger toward Drew will be reignited with white-hot intensity, but it will be matched, if not surpassed, by his fury at Nina for her grotesque manipulation. The angry threats in the Corinthos household will not be idle, they will be promises of ruin. For Drew, the truth will be a bittersweet vindication. His instincts were right, but the victory will be hollow. He will have missed the earliest, precious moments of his child's life. The battle to establish his paternity and his place in the child's life will be a legal and emotional war against a wounded and powerful Michael Corinthos. His relationship with Willow will be a casualty of the initial deception and the subsequent lie, possibly damaged beyond repair. And for Nina, the consequences will be dire. She will face the wrath of every person she sought to control. She will lose whatever tenuous relationship she had rebuilt with Willow, likely forever. She will make mortal enemies of both Michael and Drew, two of the most formidable men in the city. Her reputation will be destroyed, exposing her not just as an interfering mother, but as a criminal who tampered with medical records. The angry threat she made to keep her secret will boomerang back on her 100-fold. She will be left with nothing but the devastating knowledge that her attempt to protect her daughter resulted in the very destruction she sought to prevent. In the end, the baptism of this child will occur under a cloud of profound conflict. The encouraging words spoken at the ceremony will be a desperate plea for peace in a world torn apart by deceit. And the angry threats that linger just outside the church doors will be a stark reminder that in Port Charles, the greatest dangers are not from external enemies, but from the secrets we keep and the lies we tell to those we claim to love.